there was so much Olympic talk this past week, so many different Olympic trials. But I think the one that probably we were both most excited about was the women's gymnastics trials. Now, I know I've been watching women's gymnastics for such a long time. It was probably one of the first sports that I remember being really engaged in as a kid, and it was specifically the Olympics. But I just feel like women's gymnastics isn't necessarily even having such a moment, because it doesn't feel like it's a moment anymore. It feels like this is something that is consistent every single year, whether or not it's an Olympic year or not, because you see everything that's going on with college gymnastics, and that's getting attention every single year now as well. And I just think that social media has done so much for that sport. So anyways, if you missed it, on Sunday, and a new Olympic team was named, 5 athletes. So, of course, Simone Biles was named to the team. She won the all-around at the trials, so she got the automatic Olympic team berth. But she also became the oldest woman to be named to the team. She's 27. She became the oldest woman to be named to the team since the 1950s, I believe, which is amazing.
It's crazy. And 27 is not old, okay?
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
when I get to 27, I hope no one's calling me old.
Yeah, no. But
especially if I'm still a professional athlete.
Definitely. But the other women that were named as well, Jordan Childs, 23 years old, Suni Lee, 21 years old, Jade Carey, 24 years old, and Hesley Rivera, 16. Now, this really stuck out to me because I remember when I was first started to watch gymnastics, like all of the girls, they were girls. They were actually girls. They were 16 years old. And if there was a girl that was 17 or 18, it was like, man, she's older on the team. Is she going to be able to make this team?
There was such a negative connotation with her body. Is she going to make it? I feel like they would emphasize any little ankle tape that was extra. But even Simone Biles talked about that. So I think a reporter asked her, how are you taking care of your body now compared to in the past? And she said, it's mental recovery. It's all the physical recovery. I need extra treatment, which is a very real thing. So I think there's both sides of it, right? It is real. When you get older, recovery is harder. But at the same time, we used to be talking about 17-year-olds. Oh my gosh, can you believe they're still doing gymnastics? And then to see what Simone has done at her age, it's amazing.
Completely. And I remember thinking too, just watching these women, the fact that they all competed in college gymnastics, at least 3 of them, and Jordan Childs, Suni Lee, and Jade Carey, they were all college gymnasts. And that used to not be a thing. It used to be if you went to college go do college gymnastics, that was the end of your gymnastics career. And part of that was a lot of women chose not to pursue college gymnastics because they would have to give up their amateur status, and that's obviously not the case anymore. But more importantly, it's I think college gymnastics used to be thought of as just a place where you can go and have fun, and it wasn't really taken seriously. But I think just the tone around gymnastics has become so much more this is supposed to be a fun place. This is supposed to be a supportive environment. And I think college gymnastics has been a big part of that. But also the fact that they were all able to come back and compete again at this elite level is really impressive. Because I remember the last Olympics in 2021, it was Michaela Skinner. She was competing for Utah for a couple of years, the University of Utah. And it was is she going to be able to, make a comeback in time for the Olympics to prove that she can still make the team? And she did. And now this year you see 3 athletes doing it. So I just think that the sport is moving in such a positive direction. And I know that we were both struck, too, by the beginning of Simone Biles' floor routine, right? What did you think of the music she chose?
Loved it. Anytime we can get Taylor in there, it's a good day. And to see Taylor's reaction, too, to Simone's song choice, I think it was Ready For It.
Yes.
That song. I don't remember her exact quote, but I think Taylor was like, girl, I'm not ready for it, but she is. And I think that's just cool to see. Like you said, there's so much hype and so much excitement around gymnastics right now. And even for social media to be able to pull in these 2 female superstars, it is really cool. And Simone even talked about it on a recent, I think it was her press conference interview after the trial. She was like, to see what Taylor has done for young women, well, it's also well, Simone, look what you've done for young women. So I think the 2 star power females shouting each other out is so cool.
Completely. And also just thinking too, like, about the maturity that a lot of the women have on this year's team. We're talking about how this is, you know, the oldest team in women's gymnastics history, just on average. Like, gymnastics is such a mental sport. Like, there's so much mental toughness that needs to go into it. And I know we were talking earlier just about the physical toll that it can take on your body, but I think having some of these more mature athletes who are ready for these really big moments, and like, there's a lot of weight on your shoulders when you're on the women's gymnastics team because it's one of the most popular sports at the Olympics, I think. I think it's one that everybody tunes into is women's gymnastics. And having that kind of weight on you as a 16-year-old, I'm sure is really challenging. But I think all of these women, like the 4 older women that are on this team, have all been through it before. They were all on last year's gymnastics team, or the 2021 gymnastics team. So they've been through it, and I'm really excited. I remember watching some press conferences. I know you watched a lot of the press conferences too, but I believe it was Suni Lee said, no, we want gold this year. And I remember last year they won the silver medal, which was awesome, but obviously these are competitive women. They want to go back and they want to win gold. So yeah, I'm really excited for them.
They're going for their redemption tour, I think, individually and as a group, right? And that's what's cool about this group kind of being the same, is that they have that bond. They've been through those things, and so they can have those harder conversations, checking in on each other. How are you doing? You know, where can I help you to really get that gold? And something you mentioned too, even with the age, right? These are older gymnasts compared to in the past, but then we have 16 Rivera, right? And so it's cool to just watch that go down, because you can imagine the wisdom and the guidance that she's getting from her teammates. I think Simone even asked her, can you drive yet? Do you have your driver's license? She was like, technically, yes. And I don't know what the technically was. If I had to guess, it'd be because she's so busy training, she doesn't get her driver's hours in. It's probably what's going on. But just to see that, and for us to be able to watch her career unfold in front of us, is going to be awesome.
Yeah, I actually remember watching this video earlier this week it was Jordan Childs teaching her how to like move her shoulders in a way. She's like, and I shouldn't be demonstrating. I really should not be demonstrating at gymnastics right now. But she was kind of like teaching her like, how to use her shoulders to like make her arms move. And it was like really nice to see that teaching moment between a lot of the athletes, which was just really sweet. But I think just in speaking kind of the positivity, I know that Alicia Sacramone and Chelsea Memel they were both on the Olympic team back in 2008. They won the silver medal, and they were now assigned to kind of be the team leaders for USA Women's Gymnastics. And I watched a press conference of them yesterday, and they were talking about all the changes that they've made to U.S. gymnastics in the past couple of years and what it's been like, and the challenges of naming this Olympic team, especially for 2 athletes that have been on that other side of it. And I think for all of those athletes that weren't able to make the team, they were able to make some really positive changes. I know Alicia was saying that they actually had mental health experts on site this time, so they had people there for all of the girls and women that didn't make the team. They had somebody to talk to. I know they had a therapy dog, Beacon, which we both loved. I know I would have probably loved to have had a therapy dog at some of my competitions in college and high school. What was your reaction to the therapy dog?
That was the cutest dog. And they had him in a tracksuit. Like, I was like, how do you get that on the dog, first of all? But no, I thought that was awesome. And I never had a dog come to my lacrosse games, so I don't know the impact that would have had, but I can imagine the dopamine and the calmness that the dog could bring, Beacon could bring. But you went to Stanford, very rigorous academically. I don't know if they had dogs there during exam week at BC. They brought dogs in during exam week, even into our athletic facility, and I know that just made us happier. Did that ever happen?
Yes, it did. We also had therapy dogs during exam week. I have to admit, I never engaged with the dogs during therapy week, but I always enjoyed like biking past the quad and just seeing them there, knowing they were there.
You were too busy. You're like, I gotta go. That might help you, but I gotta go.
Yeah, exactly. I was like, I think just the fact of like knowing there's a therapy dog in the building is enough therapy for me.
Right.
But seeing some of the interactions that some of the athletes were having with the dog was so sweet. And I know he was like playing around on the floor for a while, and so really cute.